Hello and welcome to Daily Drizzle English, where we believe that learning English can be simple, gentle, and full of beautiful stories. Here, we share with you touching tales that help you relax, feel inspired, and naturally grow your English skills. One word, one sentence, one feeling at a time. If you're someone who wants to enjoy English through real emotions and soft storytelling, you are in the right place. So take a deep breath, let your heart open, and let's begin a new journey together. Today's story is about something we all dream of, love. But not just any love. This is a love that faces doubts, fear, and difficult choices. A love between two people from different worlds. One is rich, one is poor. One has everything, and the other has only a kind heart. Can their love survive when the world tries to pull them apart? Will they choose each other, even when it's hard? This is the story of Emma and Daniel, a simple flower girl and a boy from a wealthy family. When they meet, something special begins, but soon their love is tested by lies, pride, and sacrifice. Through pain and hope, through silence and truth, they must find their own path. And in the end, they learn that true love is not about money or status. It's about choosing each other every single day. Now, let the story begin, and let English slowly bloom in your heart. Emma lived a quiet life. Every morning, she would wake up before the sun, open the small flower shop on the corner of Maple Street, and carefully arrange the blooms she loved so much. She didn't think her life was special. She wasn't rich, and she didn't dream of big things. She was just a simple girl who worked hard, helped her grandmother, and found joy in little things, like the smell of fresh roses or the soft colors of tulips in the morning light. Emma didn't know she was beautiful. She never thought about it. Her long brown hair was always tied back, her hands a little rough from work, but her eyes shone with kindness. One rainy morning, everything began to change. A young man walked into the shop, holding a small umbrella, his coat still wet from the rain. He looked around, his eyes stopping at the white roses by the window. "One of these, please," he said. Emma handed him the flower, wrapped it gently in paper. "Thank you," he smiled and walked out. She didn't think much of it, just another customer, but the next day he came again, and the day after that. His name was Daniel. He wore nice clothes, spoke softly, and always asked for one flower. After a few visits, he started asking her questions. "Do you like working here? What's your favorite flower? Do you read books?" Emma was surprised. No one had ever asked her these things. She answered shyly, "Yes, I like books." "What kind?" he asked. She shrugged. "Any story that feels real." Daniel smiled. "I think you like stories about people, don't you?" She nodded. Then she asked, "Why are you talking to me?" Daniel looked at her, his eyes kind. "Because you're not like the others." Those words stayed with her that night. She didn't understand what he meant. What did he see in her? She wasn't anyone special. She worked, she went home, she helped her grandmother. Why would someone like him, someone who looked like he came from another world, be interested in her? But the next day, he came again, and again. 2 weeks passed. They talked more, laughed softly over small jokes, and Emma began to feel something new. A little spark inside her heart, something warm. Then one evening, as the rain fell softly on the streets outside, Daniel stood at the door before leaving. "Emma," he said, "I think I like you." Her heart stopped. She didn't know what to say. Her hands, still holding a rose, trembled a little. She looked at him, trying to understand. Was he serious? Was this a game? She didn't answer, and he didn't wait for one. He smiled gently and left. That night, Emma couldn't sleep. Her mind was full of questions. Could a rich boy like Daniel really like a girl like her? Was it possible? Would his family ever accept her? She looked around her small room, the one she shared with her grandmother. The old wooden table, the single bed, the soft sound of the rain outside. This was her world. And his? She couldn't even imagine. But the next morning he came again. And this time he said it again, more softly, but with the same warmth in his eyes. I think I like you. A lot. Emma's heart was full of feelings she didn't understand. She didn't say anything, but she smiled. And in that small smile, something had begun. Something that would change both their lives forever. The days after Daniel's words felt different. Emma still woke up early, still opened the shop, still arranged the flowers with care. But now her heart wasn't as quiet as before. It beat a little faster every time she thought about him. She found herself waiting for the sound of the bell above the door, hoping to see his face, to hear his soft voice say, "Good morning, Emma." And he came, as he always did. But now their talks were longer, their smiles deeper. Yet Emma's mind was full of doubts. She tried to hide them, but they stayed, like a shadow following her everywhere. Daniel was from a rich family. Everyone in town knew the name of his father, the big house on the hill, the cars, the business. And her? She was just a flower girl. Could someone like him really mean what he said? Could he truly care for her? Daniel didn't seem to have those doubts. Each day, he was more open, more sure. One afternoon, as they sat outside the shop, the sun shining softly after days of rain, he looked at her and said, "Emma, I like you a lot. I think about you all the time." Emma looked down, her hands gently touching a rose. "But why me?" she asked, her voice almost a whisper. "Because you're real," he said. "Because you make me feel alive." His words were sweet, but they felt heavy in her heart. That night, Emma lay awake, staring at the ceiling, listening to the soft breathing of her grandmother in the next room. Could love between a rich boy and a poor girl be real? Or was it just a dream? She didn't want to believe it was just a dream, but she was scared. One morning, Daniel came with a new light in his eyes. "Emma, I want you to meet some of my friends," he said. She froze. "I don't know if that's a good idea," she replied. "Why not?" he asked, surprised. She looked at him, her eyes full of worry. "Because they're not like me. I'm not from your world, Daniel." He reached for her hand. "I don't care about that." But Emma pulled away gently. "Maybe you don't, but they will." As if the world was listening to her fears, something changed soon after. One day, Daniel didn't come, not in the morning, not in the afternoon. Emma waited, her heart growing heavier with every hour. The next day, still no sign of him. By the third day, her worry turned into something else, fear. Then, on the fourth day, he appeared. But his face was not as bright. His eyes looked tired, troubled. "Emma," he said, his voice lower than usual, "my parents found out about us." Her heart sank. "What do you mean?" she asked. "They know I've been seeing you. They're angry," he said. "They told me if I keep seeing you, they will take everything away from me. No money, no school, no job." Emma felt like the world stopped for a moment. She couldn't breathe. She looked at Daniel, searching for something, anything. "So, what will you do?" she asked, her voice shaking. Daniel didn't hesitate. "I don't care about any of that. I want to be with you." But Emma didn't feel relief. She felt scared. "You will lose everything because of me," she whispered. Daniel shook his head. "No, I'm choosing you." But she couldn't believe it, not yet. The words were too big, too heavy, and while they were trying to hold on to each other, someone else was watching. someone who didn't want them to be together. Her name was Sophie, a girl from Daniel's world. Beautiful, rich, confident. She had always liked Daniel, and now she was not happy to see him with someone like Emma. One afternoon, Sophie came to the flower shop. Emma didn't know who she was at first. She ordered a cup of tea, sat down quietly, watching Emma. Then, after a few minutes, she spoke. "You don't belong with him," she said coldly. Emma looked at her, surprised. "I'm sorry?" Sophie stood up, walked closer, her eyes sharp. "Daniel has a future. You don't. Do you really want to destroy his life?" Emma didn't answer. Her heart was beating fast. Sophie smiled, but it wasn't kind. "Think about it," she said, and left. That night, Emma couldn't stop thinking. Maybe Sophie was right. Maybe this love was a mistake. Maybe she was just a problem Daniel didn't need. Emma woke up early, but her heart felt heavy, as if the weight of the world had settled on her chest. She walked to the flower shop as usual, but her hands moved slowly, her thoughts stuck on Sophie's words. "Do you really want to destroy his life?" They echoed again and again. She looked at the small flowers, so delicate, so simple, just like her life, and Daniel's life. It was full of big things, big dreams, big expectations. Could love be enough to hold two such different worlds together? When Daniel arrived that morning, he noticed right away that something was wrong. "Emma, are you okay?" he asked, gently touching her hand. She pulled away, her eyes avoiding his. "Daniel, maybe we should stop," she said softly. His face changed. "Stop? What are you saying?" She didn't want to hurt him, but she felt she had no choice. "Your life is full of big things. Mine is small. I don't want to take everything from you." Daniel shook his head. "Emma, I've already told you I don't care about the money or the school or the business. I care about you." His words were strong, but Emma felt the fear rising inside her. "You don't understand," she said. "You might not care now, but one day when you have nothing left, you'll look at me and wonder why you gave it all away." Daniel looked into her eyes. "Emma, I won't wonder. I'm choosing you." But Emma couldn't smile. She nodded slowly, not saying another word, and Daniel knew she needed time. Days passed and Daniel's world began to change. His father took his car, his money, even his phone. "If you want to live like them, then live like them," he said coldly. Daniel walked to Emma's shop now, tired but determined. Every step he took was a step away from the life he knew and a step toward the life he wanted. But Emma's heart was breaking. She saw him coming, his clothes simpler now, his face tired, and she asked herself, "Is this because of me?" She couldn't stand the thought of being the reason he lost everything. And in her silence, her doubt grew stronger. Meanwhile, Sophie was not done. She visited Daniel's parents, her eyes filled with false concern. "I heard something," she began. "Emma, she's using him. She wants his money. She told me that." Daniel's mother gasped, her heart torn between anger and sadness. His father said nothing, but his face was hard. "We warned him," he muttered. "She'll ruin him." Daniel didn't know about Sophie's lies yet, but he could feel the distance growing between him and his family, between him and the world he once knew. And Emma? She was slipping away, lost in her fear, her guilt. One night, unable to sleep, Emma sat at her small table and took out a piece of paper. She wrote slowly, carefully, tears falling as she wrote, "Daniel, you have a big future. I don't want to take that from you. I love you, but I must go. Please don't look for me." She left the letter on the flower shop table and went home, her heart breaking with every step. She didn't wait for him the next morning. She couldn't. Daniel arrived early, smiling, carrying a small flower for her. But when he saw the letter, everything stopped. He read it once, then again. His hands trembled, but he didn't cry. He didn't speak. He simply turned around and walked away. That same day, far from the quiet streets where Emma lived, Sophie's family held a grand party. The lights were bright, the music loud, and Sophie smiled as she looked around. "He'll come," she told her friends. "Tonight, Daniel will come back to me." But Sophie was wrong. Far away, Daniel stood outside Emma's flower shop waiting. Hours passed, the sky darkened, but he didn't leave. Then finally, Emma returned. She had forgotten something, or maybe deep inside she had hoped he would still be there. She saw him and froze. "Why are you here?" she asked, her voice barely a whisper. Daniel walked to her, the letter in his hand. "You don't decide for me," he said. "I decide, and I want you. Not money, not parties, not lies." Emma's eyes filled with tears. She had never seen him like this, tired, broken, but strong. She felt something stir inside her. Hope. Emma stood there, the cool evening air wrapping around her, but she didn't move. Daniel's words hung between them, strong and steady. "You don't decide for me. I want you." She looked at him, eyes filled with fear, love, and something else, a flicker of belief. For days, she had tried to push him away, thinking it was for his good. But now, here he was, standing in front of her, stripped of everything, yet full of something even more powerful. Choice. "Daniel," she whispered, her voice shaking, "you've lost so much because of me." But Daniel shook his head, stepping closer. "No, Emma, I've lost nothing. I've only started to find what matters." Her heart ached. She wanted to believe him, but the world around them seemed so loud, so full of judgment. She thought about his parents, about Sophie's cold words, about the life he left behind. Could love really be enough? But something else was happening, something neither of them could see yet. Back at Daniel's home, truths were about to break through the lies. Earlier that same day, Daniel's mother sat alone in the quiet room of their large house. Her heart felt heavy. She remembered the girl, Emma, and something about her eyes. Not greedy, not proud, just honest. But Sophie's words rang in her ears. She's using him. Doubt gnawed at her until she noticed Sophie's phone left on the table. A voice message played, a whisper in the silence. "Don't worry, she'll leave him. I'll scare her. She's just a poor girl." Daniel's mother froze. She played it again and again. Her hands shook as she realized Sophie had lied. Emma wasn't trying to take anything. She had tried to give Daniel everything, even if it meant letting him go. Without a word, she left the house, a small letter in her hand. Emma and Daniel sat inside the flower shop, not speaking, just holding each other's hands. The door opened quietly, and Emma looked up, her breath catching. Daniel's mother stood there, not angry, not proud, just tired. "I found this," she said, placing Emma's letter on the counter. "Daniel gave it to me." Emma's heart raced. She didn't know what to say. She expected anger, more pain. But then Daniel's mother spoke softly. "He loves you? He really does." Emma stayed silent, unsure if she was dreaming. "I judged you because you were poor," Daniel's mother continued. "I thought you wanted to take from him, but I see now you were trying to protect him." Her voice broke slightly. "We were wrong. I was wrong." Tears welled up in Emma's eyes. She had been strong for so long, but now her walls began to fall. And then someone else entered, Daniel's father. He rarely spoke, his presence always heavy, his eyes cold. But tonight, he looked different. He stood beside his wife, looking at Emma, then at Daniel. "When I was your age," he began, his voice rough, "I loved a girl like you, Emma, but my father said no. He made me let her go. I never forgot her." He paused, the weight of old memories in his eyes. I won't make the same mistake with my son. The room was silent, filled with unspoken emotions. I don't care if you're poor, he continued. You're honest. That's what matters. Emma looked at Daniel, not knowing what to say. The walls that once kept them apart were falling, one by one. Daniel smiled, holding her hand tighter. Now, nothing is stopping us. In the days that followed, everything began to change. Sophie's lies became public. The voice message spread through whispers and looks, and soon Sophie left town. Her plans had failed, and no one stood by her side. Emma and Daniel began to build a new life together, not just in love, but in truth. They reopened the flower shop, working side by side. Daniel no longer walked in as a visitor. He belonged there now. They didn't have much, but they had each other, and that was more than enough. People came, not just for flowers, but to see them. The rich boy who gave up everything for love, and the simple girl who taught him what mattered. Daniel's parents visited every week. His mother brought tea, and his father never said much, but his eyes were softer now. Then, one afternoon, Daniel's father handed him a letter. Inside, just one sentence. The family business is yours, if you still want it. Daniel looked at Emma, then smiled. Now I have both, love and a future. The days that followed were filled with a quiet kind of joy. It wasn't loud or rushed, but it was real. Emma and Daniel woke up early together now, opening the flower shop side by side. Daniel, who once wore tailored suits and drove expensive cars, now wore a simple shirt, rolled up his sleeves, and learned how to care for roses, lilies, and daisies. He listened to Emma as she showed him how to trim stems just right, how to mix colors in a bouquet, and how to greet each customer with warmth. At first, people looked at them with curiosity. The rich boy who once seemed untouchable was now arranging flowers in a small shop on a quiet street. But soon, people stopped whispering. They came not for gossip, but for flowers, and for the feeling the shop gave them. It wasn't just a shop anymore. It was a place where love had won, where choices had been made from the heart. Daniel's parents visited every Saturday. His mother would bring fresh bread from the bakery, sitting quietly with Emma while Daniel worked. Sometimes they talked about flowers, sometimes about nothing at all, just enjoying the peace that now lived between them. His father, still a man of few words, would come too. He didn't say much, but he watched. One day, as Daniel helped a customer, his father looked at Emma and said softly, "Thank you for not giving up on him." Emma smiled, her heart warm. But life, as gentle as it can be, still carries surprises. One evening, as the sun set behind the hills, painting the sky in soft pinks and oranges, Daniel sat with Emma outside the shop. The streets were quiet, the day's work done. He reached into his pocket and handed her the letter his father had given him days ago. She looked at it, curious. "It's the family business," Daniel said. "He's offering it to me again." Emma's heart skipped. She looked at Daniel, searching his face. "What will you do?" Daniel took her hand in his. "I used to think I had to choose between love and a future, but now I don't want to choose. I want both. I want us, and I want to build something more." Emma hesitated. "Are you sure? I don't want you to feel like you have to go back to that world." Daniel shook his head. "I'm not going back. I'm bringing what we have forward. We can keep the shop, live our life, but we can also grow. We can make something bigger, together." Emma looked at him. The man she had once feared would lose everything because of her. Now he stood before her, not lost, not broken, but full of hope. "Yes," she whispered, together, and so they began again. Daniel took on the family business, but not as it was. He changed it slowly with care. He brought in new ideas, fairer ways, honest work. Emma helped him, not with numbers or meetings, but with balance, reminding him always of who he was and who they had become. The flower shop remained, a symbol of their journey. Daniel would still spend mornings there, helping Emma, greeting old customers who smiled at the sight of them, remembering how it all began. In the afternoons, he would meet with his team, not in grand offices, but in simple rooms where respect and kindness mattered more than power. And people noticed. They saw how Daniel treated everyone, not as someone above them, but beside them. They saw Emma, not just as a flower girl, but as a woman who had helped change a man, a family, and perhaps even a community. One Sunday, months later, as they sat in the shop surrounded by fresh blooms, Emma touched Daniel's hand and said, "Do you remember the first time you came here?" Daniel laughed softly. "Of course. I asked for a single rose, but I found something much more." Emma smiled, her eyes shining. "And you gave up everything for me." Daniel shook his head. "No, Emma, I didn't give up anything. I found everything." Their story was no longer just theirs. It became a quiet tale that people told, not because it was grand, but because it was true. A story about love that didn't need riches, about honesty that broke through lies, and about two hearts that chose each other every day. The seasons passed, quietly and gently, as if the world itself wanted to give Emma and Daniel the peace they had longed for. Their life together wasn't grand or full of luxury, but it was rich in ways they had never imagined. Every morning, Emma would wake first, the soft light of dawn spilling into their small home above the flower shop. She would watch Daniel sleep for a moment, a small smile on her lips, before heading downstairs to prepare the shop for the day. Daniel soon followed, his steps light, his heart full. They would share a simple breakfast, often laughing over something small, a crooked flower, a funny customer, a memory from the early days. Then together they would open the doors, letting in the fresh morning air, the scent of roses, lilies, and wildflowers filling the space. Customers still came, but now many were friends. People from near and far visited not just to buy flowers, but to feel the warmth of something real, something that no money could buy. They admired not just the beauty of the blooms, but the love that seemed to live in every corner of the shop, in every glance Emma and Daniel shared. Daniel's parents continued to visit. His mother often brought small gifts, a jar of honey, fresh fruit, or books she thought Emma might enjoy. They would sit together in the back of the shop, sipping tea, sharing stories. His father, though still quiet, began to open in his own way. One day, as Daniel showed him a new business idea, his father placed a hand on his shoulder and simply said, "I'm proud of you." That was all Daniel needed. Emma's grandmother, too, found comfort in this new life. Though her steps were slower now, she would come to the shop, sitting near the window, watching the world with a peaceful heart. She had worried once that Emma would lose herself in love, but now she saw that love had made her stronger. And then one evening, as the sun dipped low and painted the sky in golden light, Daniel took Emma's hand and led her to the small garden behind their home. The flowers swayed gently, and the air was filled with the scent of jasmine. "Emma," he said, his voice soft but steady, "we've built something beautiful together, and now I want to take another step with you." Emma looked at him, curious. He smiled and knelt down, pulling a small ring from his pocket, simple, elegant, just like her. "Will you marry me?" he asked. Emma's eyes filled with tears, not of sadness, but of joy. She knelt down beside him, cupped his face in her hands, and whispered, "Yes, 1,000 times yes." They didn't need a grand wedding. Their love had already been tested, already proven. A few weeks later, surrounded by close friends and family, they exchanged vows under the soft light of the morning sun. Daniel's father stood beside him, placing a hand on his back as they said their promises. Emma's grandmother held her hand tightly, her heart full of pride. Life continued, but now every day felt like a gift. They worked, they laughed, they sometimes argued over little things, but they always came back to the same truth. They had chosen each other. Not just once, but every day, in every small decision, in every act of kindness, in every shared silence. And soon another gentle surprise came. One morning, Emma stood in the flower shop, holding her hands to her heart, a secret smile on her lips. When Daniel walked in, she met him with shining eyes. "We're going to have a baby," she said softly. Daniel stood still, as if the world had paused just for them. Then he rushed to her, lifting her gently into his arms, laughter and tears mixing together. "You've given me everything," he whispered. As the months passed, they prepared for the new life growing between them. The flower shop continued to bloom, their love continued to deepen, and the future no longer felt like something to fear, but something to welcome. Years later, as they sat together, watching their child play among the flowers, Daniel turned to Emma and said, "Do you remember when we thought love wasn't enough?" Emma smiled, leaning her head on his shoulder. "Now we know. Love was more than enough. Because love, when chosen every day, when nurtured with honesty, patience, and care, becomes something unbreakable. It grows, it strengthens, and it carries you through every storm, every doubt, every challenge." And so Emma and Daniel lived a life that wasn't perfect, but was deeply beautiful. A life where love was not just a feeling, but a choice, one they made, again and again, forever.